My name is Sarah Craig. I'm a makeup department head in the film business.
Growing up, what did you want to be?
Um, you know what? I was either going to be a chef or a makeup artist. I had been in a pretty bad car accident at the age of 15, and as a result of that, had lost a lot of skin. I had ripped my ear on my face, and a therapist at the time had got me into a makeup artist that would help me heal my scars and cover them. And it really built up my self-esteem at the time and did a lot for me. And then I also have a background in makeup, or I'm not in makeup. Sorry, I have a background in arts. I'm a painter as well. Love working with oils. Initially, I did go to school for art. In Portland, I went to PNCA at nighttime and did painting courses. And then, but yeah, my background, love fine arts, loved painting. And then that kind of just translated and transitioned from there on out. And I also loved cooking, and I think that was another thing. And then I had signed myself up for chef school in New York and makeup school in Toronto because I grew up in the States. And then the chef school called and said, "Oh, you're going to have to, as a chef, you would work every weekend and major holiday." And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, guy! Like, I'm not. I don't think this is for me." So I, pivoted and then ended up coming up to Toronto to the School of Makeup Art. I was 18 at the time, or 18 or 19.
And you said on your website that you grew up with like a love for art and film. What inspired you specifically to go into the industry with makeup?
Ever since I was little, I grew up in a big family, and I had three older siblings and a younger sister. And I would sit and I would, watch a movie, and then I would write all of the words, basically rewrite the script for the movies. And then I would force my little sister and her friends to act in my movies. And as I got older, we used to make all these kind of like murder crime movies where we would dress up and we would make fake blood, my friends and I, and we would shoot all these kind of different movies. And so always had a love for it. Love to this day, love watching TV and movies. Like, there's nothing I'd rather do on a Saturday night than like curl up and watch a good movie.
How did you get into the industry? Can you remember what like your first job was that you did?
Oh goodness. Yeah, I do actually. I'm straight out of makeup school. I had volunteered a lot during makeup school, and straight out of makeup school, I headed an independent film here in Toronto. It was called The Art of Woo. Um, and and then it just kind of took off from there for me. I mean, it wasn't immediate. I wasn't making the big bucks for a long time. I worked a lot of indie films where your pay could be anywhere from $50 a day to cover the cost of your products, your kit cost, to sometimes just coming out for free just to get the experience that I needed. And I just really got myself stuck in there and tried to make as many contacts as I could. And it was definitely a struggle for years and years. And it just kind of snowballed.
How do you get involved in projects? How does that process work for you?
Um, well, now, I've been in IATSE, the union that is in, I guess it's an international kind of film union. And so, projects that come to Toronto, or sometimes I end up working in the States or Europe, depending. If you're in part of the union, you'll work on union shows. And I have an agent now, and so they'll put me up for things. Sometimes I see a project coming and I love the director, I love their movies, or maybe it's just the project that they're doing that I have an interest in, and then I usually pursue it from there, and then go through the interview process, and just depends on what they're looking for.
What type of interview process do you have to go through for those type of jobs?
So typically, I'll be in a room with producers, directors. Every once in a while, an actor wants to. Every once in a while, if it's a big film, the actors on those films sometimes like to have a look at your resume to make sure that you're kind of up to par for what they're looking for as far as experience goes. So yeah, usually it's probably like a 10-15 minute interview. And then that's based on, you never know what they're looking for. It could be, sometimes it's a personality thing. Sometimes it's an experience thing. So, I've never taken it to heart if I haven't gotten something. There's always enough work to go around for everybody. And yeah.
Do you have a favorite type of project to work on?
Um, yeah, I really, I love, more of the independent kind of stuff, even though I don't get to work on it as much anymore. I love really good stories. I find they challenge people a little more. They don't spell it out for people. I love doing breakdown makeup, which entails making people dirty, bruised, cut. Um, Basically any project that's going to present a challenge is what I'm up for, because I want to continue to grow, and to learn and to hone my skills. I'm sorry,
That's
turn my
nice.
phone off. So if there's something challenging that I read, I'll read the script first. Sorry, prior to the interview, I failed to mention that I'll always read the script first.
Mhm.
And then you can bring your ideas to the table or find things within that script after you break it down, of stuff that might interest me, that's challenging. And then, every once in a while when I'm, elbow deep in blood and dirt, I'm like, oh, next one's, I just want a nice, like, romantic comedy. I like to switch it up a little bit too.
What does being a makeup department head entail?
Whew, lots. So I guess as the department head, you select, you hire the people that will be working alongside you. There's a lot of paperwork that goes along. A lot of people don't realize how much paperwork and reading and writing and researching that I do. Sometimes that's more of the job than actually, the makeup. And as head of department, sometimes now I'll delegate different things such as paperwork. But it goes into everything from deciding which products we're going to use. You design the looks. You may not put the makeup on the person, but you definitely design, you can tell your key or, your other assistants, I want to see this and that. We got to pull this back. And, if anything goes wrong in your department, it's all on you. It's on your shoulders. So there's a bit of a weight with that, as far as, the studios, or, you're not just answering to a director or a producer. And sometimes it's, studios that are wanting to see certain things and make changes.
And when you first start working on a project, what's like the first thing you do as a makeup department head?
First thing is reading the script multiple times, making a breakdown. So I'll go scene for scene. I will have notes written about every single person in that scene. What's happening to that person? Are they running? Well, then we're probably going to see some sweat. It's not always, spelled out on the paper.
Mhm.
And so that's the very first thing I do is break down all of that. And then it's getting into, making list of products that we're going to need and shopping for said products so that we have all of our supplies, or if I'm working with a prosthetics team, if there's lots of pieces that are going to be applied or things that need to be, sometimes it's designing those pieces, drawing them, working alongside them. And yeah.
What would you say are like the major differences between being a makeup artist on set versus being a makeup department head on set?
I think for the artist, there's probably less stress. There's less weight on your shoulders. Like I said, if something goes wrong, it's on you. And so you may they're still having. I mean, they do so much without my team. I'm nothing, and they're doing the work. They're putting the makeup on the people. They're upkeeping. A lot of the time, I have somebody who's really great at paperwork. I find that, being a leader, the thing to do is to look for everybody's strengths and then to, find them and to bring them out in the people, whether some people are fantastic at the paperwork and doing math. And, there's something to be said about not everybody's good at that. Not everybody's good at putting a scar on and painting it. And everybody has a different style too. So, as an artist, you're going in and you're adjusting to the head of department style. You don't get to just have, artistic freedom and do what you think looks good. And so, yeah, I think that's.
You said that like you just mentioned that everyone has a different style. How would you describe your style?
I am very much into natural. I love skin looking like skin. The polar opposite of what's happening on Instagram and the Instagram makeup people that are on their career, what they're doing is their own kind of art. However, what we shoot on, in HD, you can't get away. You see every hair on your face. You see every pore. Sometimes, I mean, it's not the kindest. I miss the day of, when I started, we were still shooting in film. We still used Polaroid cameras to take, our pictures on set. We didn't all have cell phones. And so yeah, it's changed, but yeah, mine is I like very clean. I love seeing skin. I love natural. I'm not into contouring, if I need to, I do, if we're making somebody look like somebody else, and recreating, then sure, I'll get in there. But yeah, I'd say my style is very clean. I like small details. That's why I love working in film, because your head's 25 feet big. So I can put a teeny tiny, beautiful little painterly cut on your head and you're going to see it. I don't have to spell it out for you that, that guy's been hurt right there, that's I guess that's more my style.
What do you have like a favorite look you've ever created? I know it's really hard. There's probably a lot, but
Trying to think. Oh my goodness. I can't think of it right now off the top of my honest. It's been 20 years. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head right now. I'd have to kind of look through photos again and to refresh my brain and see sorry.
That's fine. What does a typical day of work look like for you on set?
So, we're typically one of the first departments to show up. Being in makeup, you work longer hours than most of the crew because you show up, you have a pre-call. And so you show up prior to the actors arriving, set up for the day. Usually I go over my notes with my team. We make hot towels, depending on the show. Sometimes I have baskets per actor and all the products come out because we're keeping continuity since we don't shoot the films or TV series in chronological order. So there's a lot of that in the morning. Then the actors come in. And so usually that's anywhere from 2 to 4 hours in the trailer, depending on how many people we have to pump through. And then after that, it's packing up, having all our stuff prepared. We have bags that, I mean, you couldn't imagine how many hundreds of little tiny things we cram into one bag to be prepared for just about anything, depending on whom you're working with. And then we'll all go to sets with, and then kind of typically you take care of the actor that you've done to keep their continuity.
Hmm. What would you say is the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge. Hmm. Um, I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I'm really somebody who loves to like face challenges. I get really calm in the storm.
Mhm.
So I don't get frazzled too easily. And I feel like after 20 years, I feel pretty comfortable kind of where I am. Not to say that there's never a challenge or something doesn't go right one day, but I kind of always embrace them. So yeah, I guess I don't really feel as though I have a big challenge or
Contrasting that, what do you think that the biggest reward is for you?
um, the biggest reward is taking on, something that maybe, like I said in the beginning, when there's something that is going to be a challenge for me, whether it's something I haven't done. Typically it's something I haven't done before, whether it's, aging somebody, but we're going to use a different product. We're going to, and, taking it on and killing it. And then you just feel great after that's probably the biggest reward. It's not a very rewarding job. You don't get pats on the back. You don't get people saying, to you, oh, it's so good. You look so, people, they look so, it's not if you're a person who needs, to be rewarded in that sense of getting the thank yous and such, it's probably not for you. So I find in those moments when you take on something that maybe you haven't done before, that's probably the biggest reward, is accomplishing that and feeling proud of it.
What's it like watching what like you've created afterwards? What's that experience like for you?
Um, I think it depends on the project, I when I did the It films, I was actually really excited to see the end product, because when you're working on a horror film, or a scary genre film, it's about the music, it's
Yeah.
the editing, the jump sequence, all these things that happen in post. It's because maybe in the moment it doesn't feel as scary,
Mhm.
and I think those ones are always a little bit more of a surprise than when we're piecing together a beautiful story and you're kind of watching it develop and you're like, oh, I have a pretty good sense on how this is going to turn out.
That's kind of the perfect transition into my questions that I have for you about it. You're actually the third person that I've interviewed that was involved in it. I interviewed the
Oh,
casting
really?
director, Rich D'Elia, and I interviewed actor Wyatt Olef. So
Oh, nice. I love
really
Wyatt.
excited. Yeah, Wyatt's great.
He's good people. Yeah.
Yeah.
His whole family is, they're beautiful, wonderful people. I love them.
He's such a nice person. Um,
Hmm.
Makeup, as you were saying, is such a huge part of it. Like it's very important. What was it like? What was that project like for you?
I'll tell you, I didn't do the clown right off the bat. That's everybody's
Yeah.
Pennywise. Andy Mischietti, the director, and his sister Barbara, they are an incredible team to work for. Andy's just an artist through and through. He designed the makeup basically for Pennywise. He drew every everything. Every detail from a cut on any actor's face to a splotch of dirt that you see is Andy's choice. Which that it's pretty rare that you get a chance to work with directors that are into all the details, and just it's so that was a really special. I love working with it. I felt like I was a kid again, getting to make movies, because of the excitement on set, and his excitement and passion for filming. You just don't get to see that as often, you know. Sometimes the directors are just calling cut and action, you know, and having a talk every once in a while, and they're very disinterested in what I do. And every once in a while I get to work with someone special like that that does take an interest, and it's just so exciting and fun.
Were there any major differences for you with working on It versus It 2?
Well, I mean, yeah, we had all the adults in for It too, so that was a whole different vibe. The first one, you know, I think, and I don't want to speak for everybody on the crew, but I think a lot of us could feel the magic. I think a lot of us felt like we were making something special,
Mhm.
and the whole crew was so nice and excited, and everybody was really good at their craft. And it's so fun and exciting to be in the presence of a group of people when a bunch of artists come together to make something. And the second one, you know, I think those guys are pretty loyal, and I think we had a lot, and everybody wanted to come back and work with them because they're amazing. And so we had a lot of the same crew, and you know, the cast, the kids on the original one that were no longer really kids anymore. Everybody had grown up a bit, and they all came back. And so it was just a different set of challenges. You know, they were all de-aged, the kids, because we had to. So I mean, some of them, it was like I had to get rid of like some eyebrows, you know, all these different things that change, these subtleties that change in your face as you grow. And it was just, yeah, it was kind of a whole other, just a different scene, I think.
Mhm. I think a popular question for anyone working on a scary project is, were you ever scared? And I know that this question is obviously probably different for you since you work with makeup, but like when you watch horror movies or when you work on horror movies, do they have the same effect on you as they would on someone else?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love getting lost in a movie. You know, I think if it's good, you're not seeing all the faults, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
some movies, as soon as there's a hole in the plot or something, you know, it's hard to get back to it. But I think I love like the Ari Aster, you know, I think uh, what he's doing is amazing. All of his films, I'm just blown up. They scare me. And I'll tell you, I was really scared of Bill Skarsgård. As soon as he had that on, at the top of the movie, I went in and we did this because he had different makeup artists that were applying, and he was in there for hours every day, and you know. And so I was there to teach him kind of a good and supply him with some good skincare products. And we talked at the start of the movie, and then after that, once that makeup was, I had a hard time looking at him or speaking. I was scared. And I actually went up to him when the movie was over. We were kind of all outside celebrating, and I went up to him and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I feel like I was very rude because I didn't say hello every day, but he was scared. Like he was truly scary looking in that suit every day.
Do you find yourself like, if you create scary looks, do you ever find yourself being scared of the looks that you create after you look at them?
No, I think it's too close to home then when you kind of sat and painted yeah.
Mhm. How does the cast you work with impact the makeup for a project?
So sometimes, you know, depending on the cast, some people, have a lot of input, and they have a backstory for their character, and they share this with me, that maybe I didn't know. Kind of, I didn't know it because it wasn't scripted, and so we work from there. A lot of the time, I'm working. I'll have an idea of what I would like things to look like, or and the director has an idea, and then the actors have ideas. So it's all about kind of making compromises, and making everybody happy, to where we're in a good place, where that's number one, is making the actors feel comfortable and happy. And it could be anything from them picking what tattoos they want, or deciding on maybe a facial hair, or any little details. So the actors are very much involved in what they look like, and I love that. I love collaborating with people. It's not about me. It's not about my art. It's not about, that's one thing you learn really quickly. You think you're going to design and make and do, and it's collaborating with others, to come up with the final product in the end.
In relation to collaboration, what makes somebody easy to work with?
What makes somebody easy, as far as the crew or the actor, and just anybody in general?
Anyone in general, I'd say.
Um, I think just being a good human being. We're all humans at the end of the day, whether there is a hierarchy in film, but we all are just people. Actors they're just people like you and I. We're all just people, and being a good person just counts for so much.
And it says in your IMDb bio that your empathy allows you to connect deeply to the stories and those telling them. Can you talk a bit about this? I was really interested in that.
Yeah, I just think, I've lived a lot of life. I've been through a lot of stuff. And I tend to be an empathetic and, sensitive person. And I think sometimes you can connect to stories, and storytelling, better I think I'm a pretty good listener too. And I think those are things that are really helpful in telling a story. If you can find things to connect to, with the characters in the story, or even with the actors or the director or whomever you're working with, to help create something, when you can go dig a little deeper, knowing what somebody else feels like.
Are there any people a part or not a part of the entertainment industry that have inspired you over the years?
Oh my goodness. I'm inspired all the time, I'm a very visual person. So I go, just went and saw Picasso's Blue exhibit a couple days ago. Reading about that inspired me, why and what he was doing on those pieces, back then. I'm inspired, like, you name it. I love being visually stimulated.
Mhm.
So if there's anything I can look at, in design, it could be clothing, it could be a chair. The textures, I love textures. I love, painting. I still paint quite a bit, and so I think I'm just constantly, looking for inspiration through visual mediums.
Mhm. How do you think painting translates into the makeup looks that you create?
Um, I think a really good knowledge of color,
Mhm.
and color theory, and how that works, and having a good eye. Every single person on this planet sees color differently. I can look at something and say it's red, and you'll say, no, that's dark red. So everybody has their own eye. And I think some of us, I think some people are kind of born with more of a visual, of being a better visionary, maybe than other people have tendencies to, be great at other things. And I think I have a love for that. So I think everything from texture, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty and get in there. And so that's been really helpful, over the years. I've made my own kind of stuff. I'm not afraid to, take something and mix weird potions to make something up, or because I would do that with my arts background. So I'm not just, oh, this lipstick I can only use on the lips, and I'm, like stuff like that, where you're not married necessarily to what a product is meant to be. It helps with that part of creativity.
What's it like creating, like you said you like skin texture and like everyday like natural looking looks? What's it like creating that versus like a special effects makeup look?
I guess, kind of almost the exact opposite. And I think a lot of people, it's hard. It's probably a lot harder for a lot of makeup artists to pull back and to maybe, step outside. It's like a lot of painters, you can look at somebody like Picasso, and you can, you're trained, you get trained in the arts, and you can do, you can paint a human to look like a human. And then from there, you start to trickle out, and maybe you start to do a little abstract. You start to do things a little bit differently once you've learned the set skills. And I think for a lot of people, it's hard for them to, maybe step away from that, and not go, this person has to have their eyebrows filled in, and the foundation and the blush, and and I'm more than happy to, now I have the confidence, I should say, to just go, nope, we're not gonna put foundation. Maybe we're not gonna cover this blemish. I'm gonna let that show. And I, do little things like that, to create characters. I think once you've honed your skills in those, then you can start to branch off and do those sorts of things. And then I think in the effects world, if it's a big thing like Pennywise, where it's a full, there are prosthetics, effects makeup artists that come in and do those appliances. But a lot of small things, big cuts, tattoos, I end up doing a lot of those. And then you're working with a lot of different products, different glues. No, you need to know kind of all of the different stuff in that world as well.
I won't say favorite because that's kind of a hard word. Do you have like an effect that you really like creating?
No, I used to like, and people say like, I have the biggest smile on my face on set when I have a bucket of blood in my hand. I get, so, I think it just depends, because I don't actually make the pieces. There's companies that make, and if I can get a beautiful piece that has really nice edges, and, I think it speaks heaps for those people that are actually sculpting and making the pieces, and then they make my job easy, to not have to put too much on, or to, but I love, cuts and big cuts, or any kind of gruesome, I love that kind of stuff.
When you're watching movies and TVs, do you ever get inspiration or ideas for projects you're working on?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm always, for sure. I'm always looking at what people are looking like. And, and I take a lot of inspiration too, just from, fashion and red carpet looks, graphics. I love, like I said, I'm a visual, you know, throw me in with a bunch of any picture, I could just sit for hours and look at photos. And I do, that's probably one of my favorite parts of the job is the research, you know. So if there's there's a cut on this guy's head, you know, I'll look through medical journals. I will look through, you know, there's all sorts of great places you can go, and I'll pull, you know, photos of real ones, and then maybe we'll like this one, but we'll kind of tweak it a little bit. And so yeah, there's so many great places. I mean, you know, with the internet now, it's insane what you can, anything you need to find, you know, you can find on there as far as inspiration.
Is there a certain type of art that you enjoy more, like modern art, or is there a certain?
Um, yeah, I think you know, I love contemporary art. What else? I've, yeah, I don't think I can just pick one, you know, I can,
Yeah.
yeah.
So before I move into a couple of questions about some of your work, what's it like creating a movie versus a TV show?
So a movie, you have one story, you have a director that is probably who you're answering to as far as looks go. And then a TV series, you know, you have I don't know, you could have 6 episodes, you could have 10, 12 these days, anything. You could have 20. And sometimes you're jumping around from episode 1 to episode 5, you know, so now you're telling 2 stories in one day. You got to keep that together. And you know, the directors, kind of not I think typically more the showrunner is the person you are connecting with. And they're not always on set and present, whereas a director, it's a different sort of feel, I guess, from working. I think I prefer film because I love to have the one story. I read it so many times, it's in my head, I know it front to back. You know, I've broken it down. I've got this, I build a connection and a relationship with the director. And where TV series, you know, I do like the TV that you get a new director every couple of weeks, and you get to meet all these wonderful people. But I think TV series are more work for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's really, I think it's really hard work. I mean, it's all hard work, but I think TV series are really probably a little more challenging than films.
Well, you were the makeup department head for season 2 of the Umbrella Academy. What was that
Mhm.
experience like for you?
That show was very challenging. You know, whether you know it or not, you know, you could see a character that looks like they're wearing basically no makeup, but we've covered 18 tattoos up their arms and legs, or on their chest, or, you know, their sideburns aren't real. Every single character on that show has fake hair, tattoos that have been airbrushed gone, a tattoo applied to them, probably some fake facial hair I've glued onto their face, you know. I mean, you name it. That was these superhero sort of series that are very popular right now are some of the most challenging shows I think to work on, because it's not a straight makeup, you know. Everybody's got scars and cuts and fight, you know. It's so we had a really good time working on it. It was challenging, and it was fun. I loved working with Kate, doing the handler. You know, she's definitely one of the actors that has a lot of has a lot of input with her character and a lot of great ideas. And I loved where, she was, that character's so off the wall. We could
Yeah.
play, every day we could play with all these colors and glitter and all this crazy stuff that I wouldn't typically be pulling pulling out of my drawers, and that's such a treat too. She's a lovely, lovely woman, and just a treat to work with her.
What was the hardest look to create for Umbrella Academy, or one of the hardest? You don't have to pick like one.
Let's see what. Now I'm trying to think of all the characters' names. I'm sorry. We aged Cameron, and I'm trying to think of his character's name. I think it was in the first episode. We aged him to 80 years old. He's one of the heck is this? Hazel.
Hazel.
I knew it would come to me. Sorry. Everything's just not sitting at the surface, especially after a year and a half of the COVID,
Yeah,
the pandemic. That was one of the more challenging looks. That was a hands-on, we did that with just a stretch and stipple, a very old fashioned technique, and hand painted, age spots, and hand laid the beard on his face. Everything was hand done.
wow.
I think it turned out pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then who else? There was just, that was such a busy show. I love being busy though. And everybody was great on that show too. The cast was really wonderful to work with. And it was a pleasure.
Do you have like a favorite look that stands out to you from that show to create? You mentioned that you got to work with like glitter and things you never like.
Yeah, I think the handlers look were probably my favorite. Kate getting in the chair, and she would shoot an idea, and then I would kind of go out searching to find these things, and and then together we would collaborate and come up with these looks. And Christopher, the costume designer, is just immensely talented. And I would look to, there's another place for inspiration. Everything she wore was handmade. Like, they were making all of her beautiful costumes were made, and the hats were handmade, everything. And so he would come in with pictures. I loved collaborating with him. That was such a treat. He would come in and show, and I would take inspiration, and Kate would take inspiration from that. And then we would go from there. And those are the goodies. Like, those are the things, when I get to find, like I said, the collaboration, when you find a couple people that you just niche with, that can dork out with you and make some art, it's so exciting and fun to be around. And it's where you get your little spark, and where you continue to just love what you do.
With collaboration, does that change for each project? Like, are you collaborating with different people depending on the project, or is it kind of the same pool of people?
No, I think it just depends on the project. I think some people are looking for that, and some people are not as interested, and maybe not as excited, and not, so it doesn't necessarily happen on every show. Some it's, give and take. So, usually you have a couple that are, you're just going to work and you're doing the work. And then you have other ones where you're excited every day because there's a couple other people there that are like, we're making something cool. We're all in it together, and we're going to work together. And it's, yeah. So I think it just depends on the projects.
Couple more questions about different things you've worked on. What was it like working on Molly's Game?
Molly's Game was really fun. I got to work with Idris, and he's a lovely man and so professional. And him and Jessica, I didn't do Jessica. Jessica has her own, Linda and Stephanie do her, and they're fantastic. They've been with her for quite a while now, but yeah, Aaron Sorkin I really loved him. He's fun to work with, the great stories. You stand around the monitor and listen to stories. And, when we went to New York, he treated me to Hamilton, which was
Oh,
pretty special, pretty one of the nicest gifts I've received from someone I've worked with. We had a lot of fun with the girls. That was another kind of like glamorous, you're not, most films, you're not doing glamorous women all the time,
yeah.
so we had a lot of fun with their looks. And yeah, that was a great, we had a really fun time making that film. We had a great team, and they were fantastic. So
Do you have a favorite memory that sticks out to you from working on that project?
trying to think. Oh, Kevin too. Kevin Costner, he was fantastic too. And he was another special part of that project too, that I was happy. He was just a total sweetheart and fun. And kind of someone my age, when I grew up watching all of his movies, to
Mhm.
have a moment of like, holy, like I don't have that very often, where you're like, I watched everything, you are a monster, like your career is insane. Some of those are, you don't have too many of those pinch me moments. It's always fun getting to know actors, but it's not all the time that you get to work with ones where you're like, I watched all of your movies growing up as a kid. So for me, that was really special. And I think Aaron too. I was a big fan of Aaron's TV series. His writing is so prolific, and so that was the main attraction for me, was getting a chance to sit in a room with Aaron Sorkin. It's pretty cool.
What's it like working with actors that you've seen in stuff, like meeting them for the first time when you've seen them in stuff previously, but you don't know them personally?
Um, I think sometimes, I think a lot of people, you probably have a sense of what they'd be like.
Hmm.
And then, the ones where I get a little nervous, because I'm like, oh my goodness, you're so and so. Though they always tend to put you at ease. Some the biggest stars that you get to work with, those they tend to be the nicest, and so comfortable in their skin that they're not gonna shake me down, because they're not insecure about their looks, and they're like, this is what I like, and they communicate that, and I love that.
Couple last questions for you here. Do you have like a funny story or favorite memory that stands out to you? I mean, you have lots of years of working. Is there like a funny story that sticks out to you from your time?
Oh my goodness. I don't think one that I could right off the bat. I'm pretty sure on everything I've worked on, there could be a funny story for sure, where we all have had a good laugh. Um, yeah, I can't think of, I'm horrible for, I mean, if you go to a party or something, they're like, who have you worked with? My brain just shuts down. I'm like, what? I'm horrible with that kind of stuff. I'm sorry.
You're fine. If you could give advice to your past self, what would you say?
Um, I think just to find what it is that you finding what it is that you like, and doing it, and standing, I don't know. I think, yeah, find what you love, and kind of stand your ground. Stand your ground, and don't just take something because it's work. you know if you're doing that, you're probably in it for the wrong reason. If you're taking a job for money, um it's probably not the right project to do.
Similarly, kind of like a last question here. Do you have any advice for young artists like thinking of pursuing a career in makeup or in the industry in general?
um yeah, don't give up. It's hard. You will not meet anyone in this business that hasn't busted their butt and been through the works. It
Mhm.
is not easy. Nobody was handed anything. Everybody has worked so hard. And it's not, it's not even, becoming an actor and what are your chances of becoming a famous actor? It's, what are your chances of becoming a working makeup artist in a city of millions of people? You've got to put the work in. You got to keep your head up and don't get involved. And don't pay attention to any of the negative stuff or any of the other stuff. Keep your blinders on, have your goals, and work hard, and try and just be the best you can be. And I think that's probably, you know
That's great advice. Thank you so much for answering all my questions.
sure. Thank you, Olivia. It was a pleasure.